There was not enough time to go and grab the boy, move him out of the way of this truck. So all of a sudden, when we watched, the little boy is standing there with his bike. It looked like somebody put something on his chest because the shirt went against his body. What we saw was somebody bring him back, and then brings back the bike, and then he's pushed back a few more feet, then the bike came. He was off the street. He was on the curb, and a truck at that time came around the curve really fast, 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. He was doing about 50. There's no way that man could have prevented from hitting that boy. So I believe he had a guardian angel watching over him and helped him to get to the side of the road and out of the way of this truck. Amazing to see.
That's it. And there are so many stories like that. And I know, because I've been to your workshops, people will come and tell you stories about what they've experienced. And one of the things that people always say is, you're probably not going to believe this, but
right.
Because so much of what is in the realm of angels and in the possibilities that God makes for us, we don't know how to experience it.
Absolutely.
We just don't understand the mystical things that happen around us. But when you go to the workshop and you hear these people saying this and telling the stories the way Karynn just did about what their experiences are, and sometimes they say, I never told anybody this, but... and
I see things like that too.
You hear it all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you have an intervention with an angel and they come to your rescue, don't be amazed to the point where you don't want to talk about it, because it's really a blessing. It's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it is, and you just said it is divine intervention.
Yes.
When angels come in and they just help out. And
right.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
In my church, they say in the seen and the unseen. And so we have to pay attention to that, what they mean by the unseen.
Absolutely.
And we need to clarify this.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, that's a very good point, because there are people who are so wrapped up in the world around them and their daily lives that they really aren't conscious of the availability of this kind of help. And you talked in several of the workshops about the kind of help that angels can give, healing and some of the other things. You want to go into that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. And that, you just raised a very good point, is also is people have, if they're not aware and they don't know to ask and they're not sure if they believe, there's a huge shift, because once they ask and something comes to them, literally they become more and more aware of the signs. And there's so many signs that the angels give, which are just phenomenal. I would just actually like to share a story that happened to myself with the angels. I was cleaning out my coat closet, my children's coats actually, and had 5 beautiful boys' winter coats, and I had cleaned them. They were in great shape. I mean, they looked new. And I wanted to give these to children who really need them. I did not want to give them to a donation center where someone had to come in and purchase them. I wanted them to be given free, and I wanted to know 100% positive it was going directly to children. And so, and the interesting thing about the end of this story is I've always had a very soft spot in my heart for moms and children who have been in abusive situations and escaped their home with just the clothes on their back and nothing else, and escaped to shelters. And I've been very sensitive to that, and I've always just been drawn to wanting to help in some way. So anyway, I had prayed to God and I asked the angels, please, would you please guide me to how I can give these coats directly to children who truly need them, desperately need them. And so I let it go to them. I said, thank you for the help. And I literally let it go, and 2 weeks went by. And I almost forgot about it. And then I had jury duty. And you see how the succession of things work out? So I went to jury duty. I'm in the big room. I got there a little early, so there were about 3 seats empty to my right and about 6 seats empty to my left, but the room is so huge, there were many empty seats. So I'm sitting there and I see this woman walk in, and she just looks at me, or she was staring at me and she was smiling, and I thought, oh, what a sweet lady. And she walks in and there's all these empty seats, but she chose to sit immediately next to me. And I didn't have a problem with that, but I thought that a little odd because there were so many empty seats with space, right? So I thought to myself, this is interesting. She's obviously magnetized to me for some reason. So she starts talking to me very friendly, and in our conversation, come to find out that she works with foster children. And she was telling me how her daughter had adopted, raised some foster children, and some very nice success stories. You know, they're now in their 20s and independent and have careers and just wonderful. So then as she's talking, it came to me and I asked her, I go, would you happen to know where I can give these beautiful winter coats? She goes, I do. Do you have something to write with? So I wrote down the name and number, and I called them up, and they said, we are in desperate need of children's coats. So I went and I found out they give these coats directly to the women in children's shelter. And I was so pleased, but that's such a typical example of how they guided and how they put her in my path, and how they brought us together for that one day of jury duty, and how she just happened to know the exact right person, and I was just so pleased.
Right. And we always say there's no coincidences.
Right, exactly.
If you truly believe in God and you truly believe in angels and the power that they wield, you know that things happen because they were meant to happen exactly that way.
Yes.
And you were open to it.
Yes.
And open to the
And
signs.
a person really needs to develop self-awareness and be more open, observant to anything that's different or unique. And then usually at that time is when you have an angel helping you.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
and
we have
speaking of speaking of signs, for example, you can also ask, angels, are you with me? Or if you happen to have a deceased loved one who passed over, and you're just wanting to know that they are still happy and healthy and doing well, you can ask for a sign, and many times they will show a rainbow. And I know stories of people have told me they saw a rainbow after they asked, and the irony of it was it had absolutely not rained at all. It had been completely blue skies. And another story of a woman, she had very sadly lost a child, like just a few months after birth, and she was very, very distraught naturally, and so she was asking for a sign from the angels that my son's okay, and was like talking to her son as well. And then they saw a double rainbow, but then all of a sudden all these snowflakes started coming down, and they just knew, the family just knew it was from their son and from the angels. And why both those things happening, a rainbow and snowflakes, is because also it was a warm, sunny day. It was impossible for snowflakes to fall, and they even called up like other people and like neighboring towns. Did it snow? And they like thought she was crazy, but they knew it was from the sun and from the angels as a sign, yes, we're okay.
Yeah. We have all kinds of signs that come up, and one of the things that happens is that people, and you talked about somebody who's passed over and you're asking, and one woman that I know, her mom passed on, and she was very distraught. And when she was a little girl, her mom used to hide pennies, so they weren't so hidden that she couldn't find them, and she'd look down and there'd be a penny. And then she'd come home from school and there'd be a penny on the counter, or there'd be a penny somewhere. And she asked for a sign that her mom was okay. Mom, are you in heaven? Are you okay? And she said she was sitting at her desk. I worked with her. She was sitting at her desk and she had open space in the blotter. And she thought, what is that? And she was touching the blotter, had these corners on it. And she said she looked and there was a little thing with an edge. She put her finger there and pulled it out, and it was a penny. And she said, and I just asked.
Isn't that beautiful?
So she said now that when she thinks about her mom, she'll look, and sure enough, there'll be a penny somewhere nearby.
Oh.
So I thought that was good. And another person told about feathers.
Yes.
And a lot of people see feathers.
Absolutely.
You know, they'll go out the door and there'll be a feather that just comes right down and lands right in front of them.
Tell them their story while you were in your office and the fan was going and you had little 4 pieces of...
I was in my church office, and we had, at that church, you know, we had these little packets that had a feather in it and an angel blessing card. And we do use blessing cards. We do in this ministry too. And somebody turned on the fan. You know, there was a light switch and they came in the door. And they flipped the switch because I had it darker in there. I just had the light over and the feathers must have been out somewhere because all of a sudden we were there with feathers going around us.
That's so great.
And the person had some questions and she said, yeah, I just was wondering about this or that and thought maybe we could ask the angels. I said, I think they just answered.
Yes, yes.
They're here.
And you said also they landed on a small
They all landed on my desk.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, they could have been anywhere in the room.
It could have been a huge mess, exactly.
Yeah, but
you know that was them. That is so beautiful.
Because it's controlled.
Absolutely. It reminded me of a story. One time I had gone to this woman's home, and she has 5 children, and she had asked me to teach a children's workshop to them. So I taught the workshop, and they were just adorable. And as you know, children are like sponges, and they're so open, and they just soak it up. But when the workshop was finished, and we, you know, as we're discussing, we said a prayer before, and we say a prayer after. You know, thank you, God, for being with us, and thank you, angels, for your guidance. And I had left. And about 15 minutes later, the mother called me up, and she said, you're not going to believe this. She goes, right after you left, we looked down, she goes, and there was a white feather just sitting there in the middle of the room where I had been teaching. They didn't know, it wasn't there when I was teaching. No. And she goes, did you drop it there? I go, no, I didn't have any feathers on me. So let us know the angels were there.
They were there, and they were involved in that workshop.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we know that the angels are around us. I mean, so
absolutely.
I started out by saying every child, every person has a guardian angel. And
can we talk more on that? I
sure.
like that idea of guardian angels. Yes.
It's so important. When we're little children, we tell the children, you know, you have a guardian angel, you're going to be okay because the angel's going to be with you. And I don't hear that a lot today.
Right.
And I'm wondering if people are pulling further and further away from the process of belief. Mm. And I think the things that you're doing, the workshops, children's workshops, are very important to bring back that awareness.
Well, yeah, thank you. I have been guided by the angels that I should be teaching more and more children's workshops and teen workshops, because with all the choices and all the turmoil in our life,
a lot of stress.
Right, a lot of stress these children are experiencing, and peer pressures that they start at a very young age, knowing they can rely on God and the angels for guidance. That's very empowering and very positive. And touching on what you just said is a workshop I had done recently. 2 moms were there and a handful of children where I taught the workshop. And what I loved about these moms is from a very, very young age, they taught them to pray to God, and they taught them about the angels. And these kids, you know, they talk to the angels every day, they get messages. I had handed them a list of archangels. The moms told me they have them posted next to their bed so they know who to ask to call in to help them. And it's really a beautiful thing, and it's such a wonderful gift to be able to give to your children, no matter what age they are.
Right. I think it needs to be brought forward. I wish there was more on television for children about angels and about things like that. And I'm almost wondering if, and I shouldn't say politically correct, not to bring things that people consider religious into the public. But there's something truly wrong with the situation where I work with kids in the schools from kindergarten to 5th grade, and the games they play, even the little kindergartners, are about vampires and zombies. But you talk to them about an angel, and they look at you like, oh, an angel? Oh, that's from church. And they don't realize it's part of everyday life, that you don't have to go to church to see an angel, to be with an angel, or have an angel watching over you. And there's so much available to you that is not tied to structured religion.
Right.
And there used to be wonderful programs on television. That one that Michael Landon was in, where he was an angel and he came back. There was a whole group of those programs. Do you see that as something that really should be happening? That we should be more open to that?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. And I want to touch on something you just said before, is about angels, working with angels. It's not a religious matter, it's a spiritual, as you pointed out. And the angels tell us in heaven there are not churches, there's not religions. Religions are man-made, but whatever religion you are is perfect for you. You can still believe in whatever you believe, but the angels, this is all very spiritual, and you can still learn from them and be guided by them.
Yeah, that's true. There's a huge difference between an organized, man-made religion, and I'm not putting anything down. I'm just saying that the denominations and such are man-made, and what is in the realm of spirit and God, the Holy Spirit, and all the angels. And they're not limited. And I say this over and over and over again on our programs. You cannot put limits on God.
Right.
So he's going to deal with all of the universe, not just that religion. And our ministry is a non-denominational, open ministry. We deal with outreach and for people who may not connect to an organized religion, but want the spirit in their life.
Yes.
And so that's our mission, is to open their minds up to the spirituality that's out there.
And when you open up yourself to the spirituality, do not be afraid.
Right.
Don't have any fear. You're receiving a blessing, and they will do nothing to harm you. They're there to keep you safe and comfortable. If you're learning something new, they make you keep you from becoming scared and frightened and relaxed, and accepting what is being done.
And we've already
recognizing that this is a spiritual situation. This is for me.
Absolutely.
And gratitude, and thank God for what your prayers have been answered.
Yes.
Another person who mentioned to me that all her relatives around the mother, and she was in hospice, and they said that she's not going to get better. So they all around the bed started to pray. Everyone prayed. There's about 12 people around them. She walked out of hospice, sat around.
Isn't that great?
But
that
those
is
things
beautiful.
Happen.
Absolutely.
But what we are doing here today, and in every show we do, is we look at the tools that are available to you. Prayer, which is great, great power. The spirits around us, the angels around us, the Holy Spirit, and God, and Jesus. So you don't have to be alone when you feel pressured, stress. We talk all the time about stress and how to relieve it. And we talked earlier about the white light. So all of these things are tools, and they're tools to help us connect with that spiritual world, because it is a spiritual world. And things, including time, are different there than they are for us.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that too, that angels work in their own time.
Right, divine, right, and it's all divine timing. And the interesting thing is, because you're talking about time, of course we have time, we look at clocks, but over there is there really is no time.
Right.
And but divine timing, on the other hand, is yes, they're lining up all the people and all the situations to be perfectly lined up so that they can bring to us what we've asked for. And a big thing I want to point out is it's important when we ask for something that we also add in it that it's for our highest good, because if it's not for our highest good, they're not going to bring it to us. They know something else is for our highest good, they'll bring that other thing to us. So if you ask and you don't receive specifically what you ask for, they will bring you something better. And so believe that. That's very important to know.
Right. And believing is something that a lot of people don't understand. But we believe in angels. There's actual proof in our lives that angels exist. Many, many people have experienced angel interventions. Many, many people have experienced angel healings and angels taking care of them. And believing is a lot easier when you've actually experienced something.
Absolutely.
But if you haven't experienced it, that doesn't mean that you're not protected in the realm of angels, that you're not in a place where angels will take care of you, because that's what their mission is.
Absolutely. And as you pointed out earlier, the moment our soul was created by God, He appoints a guardian angel to each of us, and our guardian angel stays with us forever. They never leave our side. So the three of us have our guardian angels with us right here.